A very good afternoon to you viewers. This is UBC Lunchtime News and I am Brian Tumwine Byaruhanga. And to our first story, the judiciary is set to host the CIFOC Africa Continental Alternative Dispute Resolution Commercial Court Summit on May 23rd and 24th at Munyonyo. Now, the summit on the theme Effective Commercial Dispute Resolution aims to promote faster and affordable ways of settling commercial disputes. A governing council chair Justice Catherine Bamugemerire says that the event is key to strengthening commercial justice and advancing ADR across Africa. Let's see more of this report.
The African Chief Justices Alternative Dispute Resolution Forum, which is the ACJAF in short, in conjunction with the Standing International Forum for Commercial Courts, the CIFOC, with the support from Pepperdine University, have together organized the African Continent Commercial Courts Summit Roundtable. The meeting is designed for the ACJAF membership, but will also attract the participation of some of the member judiciaries across the ACJAF. The focus of the meeting will be a commercial litigation, arbitration, and mediation meeting with a view of developing best practices for improving alternative dispute resolution both on the African continent and globally. ADR, or as our Chief Justice likes to call it, the African Dispute Resolution Mechanism, is an umbrella term used to refer to a number of different ways to resolve disputes outside of the courts. It involves empowering a neutral third party to arbitrate or mediate between parties to resolve the issues.
On 23rd and 24th May 2025, the Uganda Judiciary will proudly host the CIFOC Africa Continental ADR Commercial Justice Summit under the theme Effective Commercial Dispute Resolution for Africa.
Religious leaders have been urged to serve as desirable models and aim at giving impactful message to the country that changes lives of Christians. Now, this was disclosed by the Bishop Dr. Lodona Osborne, who is the main celebrant at the Light Up Conversion organized by Pastor Patience Rabogo that started this week at Kololo Independence Grounds in Kampala. Let's see the details of this report.
The convention will be attended by all denominations in Uganda. Bishop Radona said it's time for religious leaders to live exemplarily, other than creating rifts among denominations.
Midst of our structures and internal affairs, we bring who we are. We bring wisdom. We bring patience. We bring cooperation. Because each of us claim Jesus Christ as our Savior, the one who died on the cross for our sins and gives us a new life.
Ladona added that the convention is a milestone to Uganda as a country and the Christians at large.
We as leaders are the channel for the people who are in the various churches, who are part of this nation, who are in the marketplace of this area, the whole nation. So I'm coming with them in mind. They need ministry because they have passion. They're trying to lead, and sometimes it's against many odds. If you are having a physical problem, expect Jesus to do something about that. He is the healer. He healed when he was here in the flesh, and he has never changed. So come expecting. Don't come just to see if it'll work. No, come expecting. If he has healed others, he will heal you.
Director Ethics in charge of religious affairs in the President's office, Reverend Mwesugwa Alon, highlighted the aims of the convention.
Light Up Uganda for Jesus means Jesus lighting up Uganda, because light comes when there is darkness. When there is a mission, there is a need. That means that God knew that in Uganda there is darkness in some circles, darkness in many ways. And therefore, Uganda needs light at this time. So light up Uganda means lighting. Jesus comes to light Uganda in the hearts of people, especially beginning with church leadership. But who begins the journey? The church leadership. And that is why Covenant of Nations is bringing all the leaders. It's a reunion. The Catholics, the Muslims, the Anglicans, the Pentecostals, they are all in together to be able to provide the leadership, the lead, to be able to provide the lead as far as quenching darkness is concerned in this country.
Mola Asimu, the woman member of parliament for Rampara district, says Uganda has a reason to thank God for the far God has brought it from to date.
You know that in the past we were changing presidents every 5 years, 2 years, 1 year, like that. And now we are at that point where we need to pray so that this stability is maintained.
The communication was made at the press conference held by Bishop Dr. Ladona Asbon upon her arrival at Entebbe International Airport. Deborah Namamonde, UBC News.
Thank you so much, Deborah, for that report. Minister for Gender, Labour and Social Development, Betty Amongi, has asked young political leaders to speak out on sexual harassment in their workspaces to avoid its dangers. She was attending a swearing-in ceremony of the Gender Policy Implementation Committee at the UPC party headquarters in Kampala. Let's see more of this report.
As Uganda gears up for the 2026 general elections, the Equal Opportunities Commission has intensified its stakeholder engagements to ensure inclusive and equitable participation in the electoral process. In a meeting held today morning, the EOC, led by its chairperson Safia Nalejuko, met with officials from the Electoral Commission to discuss persistent challenges affecting Ugandans during elections, especially special interest groups.
Persons with visual impairment have complained against the EC for denying them the opportunity to be accompanied by their aides to vote on their behalf. Instead, the Electoral Commission polling officials choose to vote on their behalf, thereby compromising their choices.
Among the issues raised was the challenge faced by the large constituencies represented by a single member of parliament, which now says there is need for innovative solutions to address this imbalance.
The Electoral Commission should put in place mechanisms to promote free and fair elections where electoral violence and voter intimidation is eliminated. The Electoral Commission should consider facilitating all the voters in the electoral colleges for electing MPs and councillors of special interest groups, in addition to conducting relevant and appropriate voter education, among others.
Electoral Commission Chairperson Justice Simon Byaruhanga highlighted the importance of citizen participation in democratic processes.
You need to conduct yourself in accordance with the guidelines we have issued. We need to be respectful and tolerant with one another. If you don't support the Hajjat or candidate X, fine, leave them their space. Leave her space with her vote, with their supporters, so they too can have a campaign rally. But don't interrupt and disrupt their processes.
When asked about the voting rights of Ugandans in the diaspora and those currently in detention, Justice Byaruhanga had this to say.
So a Ugandan in the diaspora can participate in the elections currently in the country, provided he or she is registered to vote from the parish he or she is born or resides.
He further urged the public to uphold the rule of law and to refrain from demonizing elections by inciting violence, bribing voters, among other illegalities.
Our ballot papers should not be soaked in blood, the blood of Ugandans. What kind of democracy is that? How does this improve on our democratic growth and credentials? How does that come in under Article 61? I mean Article 1 of the Constitution. Because Article 1 says the people shall express their will and consent on who should govern them at the ballot box.
Currently, the electoral roadmap is in play, with activities such as the display of the National Voter Registrar, among other key processes. Rebecca Nantongo, Susan Inabugude, UBC News.
That story by Rebecca Nantongo was simply by the Electoral Commission chairperson, Justice Byaruhanga, urging Ugandans to actively participate in the 2026 general elections. Now let's go to our next story. Minister for Gender, Labour and Social Development, Betty Amongi, has asked young political leaders to speak out on sexual harassment in their workspaces to avoid its dangers. She was attending a swearing-in ceremony of the Gender Policy Implementation Committee at the UPC headquarters in Kampala.
In a bid to achieve a zero-tolerance score against sexual harassment and uphold good morality in Uganda People's Congress Party, a Gender Policy Implementation Committee was appointed and sworn in today.
I, Nabasa Meta Nabasa,
having been appointed the office of the Secretary of the Gender Policy Implementation Committee,
do hereby swear that I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
unto the Constitution.
Minister for Gender, Labour and Social Development, Betty Amongi, highlighted how complex and sensitive sexual harassment is and advised the newly sworn-in committee to make investigations thoroughly well before bringing victims to book.
Because there are also so many people who will just report you because of other issues. That's why investigation is very important. The committee, don't take it by face value.
She also asked young politicians to break silence when sexually harassed for it to be addressed.
Many of you will be harassed, but you will not report it. Why? Because traditionally people feel that, why should you? They will even say, but all the women, they are harassed.
The Uganda People's Congress Party President Jimmy Akena said he won't tolerate any form of harassment because of its dangers.
And the whole issue of we do not want the exploitation of our young ladies who have taken a passion to politics. Let us give them a safe environment, let us groom them, let us help them grow in this politics. This question of exploitation or the harassment of our young ladies in universities, in various institutions, let us be the voice for those who are going through those problems. And please, let it be known that is totally unacceptable. Let us have a free and fair process and let the young ladies and people who want to offer themselves to candidature should not be subject to anything beyond that one.
The regional manager, East Africa Christian Democratic International Center, EMIO team, applauded UPC for coming up with such an initiative to fight sexual harassment at work during these times when the country is nearing elections.
There are peak levels where sexual harassment is very prevalent in political parties. This is one of the moments when we are going into elections, when people need endorsement, when people need party tickets, but also secondly, when people are looking for opportunities, for trainings, for travel. That's when the conditions and sexual harassment always is very glaring.
Otim says sexual harassment has hindered many young people to participate in politics because of the advances that comes with it, and asked the newly sworn in to walk the talk.
Let's do this because this is setting a foundation for the future of how we practice politics in this country, for the future of how people behave within the political parties.
Shaidat Nasaku, UBC News.
Thank you, Shaidat Nasaku, for that report. The Minister of State for Internal Affairs, General David Muhoozi, has urged security agencies to uphold the spirit of patriotism by addressing key offenses that pose a threat to national economy and security. General David Muhoozi, at the pass-out ceremony of 403 senior officers at the Police Development Center in Chikandwa, emphasized the need of negative impact of unprofessional crime detection and policing. Rogers has the rest of the story.
The State Minister of Internal Affairs, General David Muhoozi, has urged security agencies to take up the lead in promoting patriotism by practicing indiscriminate policing and strategic deployment.
Police is not an end, or police work is not an end in itself. You are there for a purpose. To ensure a peaceful, stable, prosperous country.
Muhoozi called on the investigative arm of the police to intensify efforts against crimes that threaten national security and the economy.
Crime is evolving fast. You need to cope with marching speed. You have no choice. The criminal is getting smarter by the day. So you can't afford, including the use of technology, IT. The other day, you know what happened to our money in Bank of Uganda.
We cannot do CID work or police work if we are not going to work with other stakeholders. When we build those bridges, then together we shall deliver on our mandate and our leadership will be proud of us.
The Director of Criminal Investigation Department, Major Tom Magambo, highlighted that the training of the 403 CID officers focused on enhancing tactical capacity, community investigative policing, law enforcement, constitutionalism, and good governance.
We have talked, trained, now we are going to try to align, place the right people in the right jobs, and when we achieve that, then we shall struggle with the tools, which is our third area.
To address the existing manpower gap, the Uganda Police plans to scale up recruitment and reallocation resources to support the forthcoming elections.
For enabling us to get extra force enablers. Others are still work in progress, but we are sure by the time we reach the critical time, everything will be in place, including the preparedness.
Komagum Rogers and Charles Okello for UBC.
Thank you, Komagum Rogers and Okello, for that report. People of Aivu Division have been criticized. People of Aivu Division have criticized advocates for the creation of another district out of Arua City. Now, they argue that Arua City was a creation of the central government to extend urban services close to the people of West Nile sub-region as opposed to the selfish interests of individuals. Joseph Odama brings us to speed.
Then Arua Municipality and Aivu County in the former Greater Arua District were merged to form the current Arua City, which was operationalized in July 2020. Immediately after the 2021 general elections, a group of people formed an association dubbed Save Aivu Initiative, in which they have been advocating for the reduction in size of Arua City by creating a district in Aivu Division.
Now, what is our problem? When Aivu was merged into one division, 7 sub-counties were killed. Imagine one LC3 chairperson controlling over 500 villages. How will he be effective? For us, as the people of Aivu represented here, we want Aivu County to be accorded a district status.
Out of centuries of existence is Aivu, the culture, the government is interested in killing the whole clan, which is one of the 4 clans of Lubara.
Before the city was operationalized in 2020, it was gazetted, a moment where no one showed up to petition the decision of merging Aivu and the Arua municipality to form the city.
They gazetted it in Uganda Gazette for 3 months. I don't know, those who are demanding district were not yet born that time, 2020.
From 2021, those against the city emerged to claim that their dead ones will not be buried in their homes on top of fears that their land will be grabbed.
If you were to suffer in Aivu, as if you were refugees, very, very unfortunate. That land which my grandfather has left to my father and I now own. If I'm to sink a pit latrine, I have to go and pay. While somebody in Tarego is not paying. Are we in hell while it's in heaven?
This city should have been declared in 2016. The people today, many of them who are saying the city is too big, that this city is bad, are people who participated in the elections of 2021. Kirio Gaspar, who is the chairman of Save Ive Initiative, stood as the MP of Ive East. So a number of those people attempted to contest. When they lost, they went back and said, the city is too big for us, we didn't want that.
However, on Monday, a faction showed up to stand in solidarity for the city after a series of complaints from the other faction that have been demanding for Ive district within the city.
So I want to tell people that once you have delivered, you have pushed a baby out, can a baby go back in the stomach, in the womb?
And so there's no way somebody will come from nowhere and they claim that the city can be taken back. This is an embarrassment for us in West Nile.
Now those who are fearing the city are still immature.
They blame the confusion on Ive West Division Member of Parliament, John Lematia, who is said to have been funding the move to split Arua city.
You see, when you tell lies in your campaigns, you don't have an agenda. Because he said, if you elect me, I'm going to reduce the size of the city. This is what the MP West said. That we are going to bury dead people from your home. You take the dead body to Riki. You take the dead body to where? This Mangasaba. And it has never happened. 5 years. His brother was buried at his home.
In a recent public gathering, MP John Lematia was caught on camera advocating for a district in Ive Division.
Gamete ma policy anda clear kini ba ma O2 municipality city state as the road. That's why Lira there is Lira city and then Lira district. Gulua lorle. Et tout si ba mani mupi de ka tout si mama paria bale ai voudri district for do souci. Et yo government ni yo kini e il political district anda tergur la le fa ai voudri city madriti. Such that is structures sub-county man be full government idira amar district fezu.
On the contrary, those pro the city are demanding for the establishment of more new divisions in Ive with the aims of bringing services nearer and the creation of employment opportunities to locals. Joseph Odama, UBC News.
Thank you, Joseph Odama, for that report. Now, the Minister for Animal Industry, Bright Ramirama, has launched the Save the Bees Uganda campaign, highlighting bees as a vital agro-inputs for pollination and food security. The initiative aims to protect the bee habitats for better coexistence with humans. The launch, held at Kawanda Agricultural Research Center in Wakiso District, coincided with World Bee Day celebrations. Beekeepers used the platform to urge government to subsidize UN-based certification fees, saying high costs hinder value-added honey exports. Sulaka Gugube reports.
Save the Bee campaign, and this is the obligation of every Ugandan.
So we want to make sure that we save the bees for us in order to promote our food security. We also want to save the bees for the wildlife, because if you look at trees which are fruit and seed based, if these trees are not pollinated, how is our wildlife going to survive? Because we are not going to have the ecosystem regeneration without bees. So I call upon all Ugandans to engage in the beekeeping. Actually, like the minister said, beekeeping is a very lucrative business. Honey is one of the most sought for commodity. That's why it is adulterated. We cannot satisfy the market. Because we cannot satisfy the market, that's why people add in other things like molasses, like sugar and other things. And it's world over. So I would like to call upon Ugandans to embrace the Save the Bees campaign and make sure you engage in the beekeeping, and especially commercial beekeeping.
As the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, in partnership with the private sector, is making a deliberate move to create market linkages for Uganda honey and other bee products. Our goal is not just to increase production, but to develop a robust value chain that connects producers to local and regional and international markets. We envision a future where Uganda honey becomes as prominent an export commodity as coffee, if not beyond. But as strategic priority that aligns with Uganda agricultural transformation agenda. As a minister responsible for animal industry, I have personally engaged with the private sector players and the United Arab Emirates Embassy with the objective of penetrating Middle East market with Uganda honey and bee products.
The challenge that we face most is finances. Not buying these things, they are very expensive. Like that imported type of blower, you can bring that. This thing here goes for about 40,000 shillings. One.
Now, viewers, that story for bees brings us to a break, and we shall return with more news.
Big thing about the MTN Super. Wali yakapia musite wali yakapia. MTN kabo the Super mustairon pia. Then you kabo the smartphone nebi akabibion na. MTN kabo the Super mustairon pia. Then you can buy the smartphone nebi akabibion na.
Get the new Kabode Super smartphone and enjoy 16 GB free. Start with a deposit of only 45,000 Uganda shillings and pay the rest mpora in daily installments of less than 1K. You can also make weekly and monthly installments. Together, our vibes are unstoppable. Terms and conditions apply.
MTN.
MTN is regulated by Uganda Communications Commission.
Are you a woman with a small-scale business with a dream of growing it to another level? The GROW Project is here to support you in realizing your dream.
The GROW Project is a government initiative implemented by the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development and Private Sector Foundation Uganda with support from the World Bank.
We support women-owned businesses across the country to gain hands-on and business management skills through training within your location, business financing through grants and affordable loans, and infrastructure in your areas of operation to enable you to increase your productivity.
If you have a business that makes sales of up to 800,000 Uganda shillings per month, the GROW Project has the tools and resources to help you succeed. For more information, contact your district or city GROW focal person or call our toll-free line on 0800 307 777 to learn more about how you can benefit from the GROW Project's services.
The GROW Project, empowering women economically, transforming communities.
Here just searching, still deciding, what am I watching?
We are what? Unstoppable. We are what? Unstoppable.
I'm at my business, enjoying success, not just an address, all about progress.
We are what? Unstoppable. We are what? Unstoppable.
That was to it. With what internet? 4K HD, non-stop action.
We are what? Unstoppable. We are what? Unstoppable.
Jerry car.
With MTN. We are what? Unstoppable.
With you and MTN together, our progress is unstoppable.
We are what? Unstoppable.
Glad to have you back. Now let's continue with UBC Lunchtime News. As Uganda marks the 14th International Albinism Awareness Day on June 13th, Albinism State Minister for Disabilities Helen Asamo told the media that although 16 billion shillings was allocated for PWDs, more funding is needed to close the economic gap with the able-bodied. The national celebrations will be held at Mukono District Headquarters under the theme, Demanding Our Rights, Protect Our Skin, Protect Our Life. Helen has the details.
When you find two skeleton of that with albinism and that without albinism, you can't tell which one is which. I call upon also our parents, please love us, take care of us. Who wouldn't love to hear that we as children with albinism, we grow with single parents.
Uganda launched a national action plan for albinism, a comprehensive 5-year strategy to safeguard the rights and welfare of over 20,000 individuals with albinism nationwide. The plan addresses critical issues such as discrimination, access to health care, and the provisions of protective measures against skin cancer, as State Minister for Gender for Persons Living with Disabilities, Helen Asamo explains.
Though there have been several achievements as highlighted above, persons with albinism will continue to face a number of challenges as follows. Persons with albinism remain at a high risk of skin cancer due to the lack of protective melanin, with their vulnerability increased by the country's high temperatures. Access to adequate health care and sun protection products, which remain low at 20%, need to be emphasized.
She further noted that there is need for vigorous efforts towards public sensitization to dispel myths and misconceptions surrounding albinism.
Persons with albinism endure stigma and discrimination fueled by myths and misconception, which I believe is even among us, the media here today, which negatively impacts their mental health and limits their access to social, educational, and employment opportunities in Uganda.
Diana Bakuita, a mother living with albinism, shared her personal experience.
We have been bullied because we are not of this age, we are of that old age, where we used to go to UPE schools then, we used to run to school at times barefooted, we used to play, the plays these days are no longer there, the Kwepena, the Noble. And they refuse you to enter and to play with them because you're like that. But nowadays, I think there is a change. We had no sunscreens then.
The 2014 United Nations Human Rights Council passed a resolution where 13th June annually be designated to create awareness on albinism. According to the 2024 Ubc report indicates that over 70,000 persons in Uganda are living with albinism. Irene Faith Nantongo, Helen Barbara Gizamba, UBC News.
Thank you, Nantongo, for that report. A recent analysis of wetlands in Kampala shows that 60% of these critical ecosystems have been encroached upon mainly by settlements driven by the city's rapid growing population. Now, speaking during a stakeholders consultative meeting, KCCA Deputy Director for Urban Housing and Planning, Ivan Katongole, cited poor coordination among relevant agencies as a key factor, delaying effective wetland management in the city. Faith has more of this report.
Kampala has 8 wetlands, including Kalidui, Kansanga, Nachivubu, Chinawataka, among others, and of these, Luigi Wetland is the most affected. Over time, there has been a general increase in the number of structures within wetland areas, with a close to 36,000 houses now standing where wetlands once thrived.
So we are talking about 36,000 houses that have, or settlements or buildings that have gone into wetlands since 1994. So if you look at it, a very few percentage comprises the industries, whereas the biggest percentage, about 80%, are in houses.
Ivan Katonguli, noted that some wetlands have been deliberately cleared to pave way for settlements.
You'll find that usually it is those who don't have the means who are going to settle for the areas that are not acceptable for development. And when it comes to industrialization, you know, it is for those who are the powerful. But in my previous discussion, I noted that some wetlands were cleared for development. Most of the constructions you see are on land held privately. Our approval system requires that people should not construct in wetlands. But because of this private holding, there is that informal development of land where people assume that they're exerting their right to use the properties that belong to them.
Stakeholders in attendance pointed out several gaps in the current situational analysis regarding the wetlands in Kampala.
We used to get money. Now, if floods have come in Kampala and the people have died and the property has been destroyed, how much money have we lost?
On these structures that have highly encroached on wetlands, we need to look at these structures from all angles. Do they have titles? Do these structures have approvals?
There was a strong call for the urgent need to sensitize communities on the importance of conserving wetlands to prevent further degradation. Cayenne Faith, Nalusiba Winnie, UBC.
Thank you, Cayenne, for that report. Now let's go to business. Uganda has registered a slight decline in the business confidence in the first quarter of the 2025. Now the Uganda Business Climate Index survey by the Economic Policy Research Center indicates that issues of multiple taxation and tax avoidance have crippled small and medium-sized enterprises. Abdul Nasiluwama has the details.
The Economic Policy Research Center has released the latest findings of the Uganda Business Climate Index for the January to March quarter of 2025. The data indicates a decline in the business confidence across the country's private sector.
From 91 index points, that is in the previous quarter, in this case the previous quarter would be October to December 2024, and decline to 88. That is for the current quarter of January to March.
The drop of 2.3 index points is attributed to the competition between the formal and non-formal businesses, coupled with multiple taxation.
That contribute the formulation of policies aimed at fostering a more competitive, productive, and enabling environment for all.
Economic policy analysts propose flexible fiscal business orders to improve the business climate in the economy.
There should be trade order in light of regulating the informal sector environment where some of these unregistered businesses operate. For example, we should enforce trade order, zoning and urban planning regulations, especially in the newly created cities, municipalities and local governments.
The business climate environment hindered agricultural production due to drought that hit the country during the review period.
And one of that is that labor moved because of drought, and they were not getting much business activity. People purchasing inputs, people purchasing, hiring tractors. That reduced because of reduced activity caused by that drought, that heat wave that we experienced in the first quarter of 2025.
However, the research revealed that parish development model has improved household incomes, especially those businesses that lacked capital push of less than 800,000 shillings.
The highest amount of money someone was looking from a credit facility, either from, it could be a commercial bank or a village circle or what, they were looking for money between 200,000 and 1 million. The maximum.
The study analyzed 3 basic sectors, including manufacturing, agriculture and services, and highlighted the need to improve on electricity reliability for steady production. Abdul Nasir Lubwama, UBC Business.
by Abdul Nasir Wama brings us to the end of UBC Lunchtime News. Thank you so much for watching, and God bless Uganda.
Inspiring Uganda.
Africa is rising. A continent rich in potential, powered by a new generation of visionaries. From cutting-edge technologies to transformative industries, Africa is shaping